Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Wonderful. Welcome. Welcome to the 7th Annual Asian American Business Roundtable. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here on this day and in this moment on such an important topic at such an important time. May 25th, 2020, the murder of George Floyd. January 6th, 2021, the siege on the U.S. Capitol. March 16th, 2021, shootings of Asian American and Pacific Islanders at spas in Greater Atlanta. May 14th, 2022, the recent shootings in Buffalo. May 24th, 2022, the shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, a predominantly Hispanic community. June 1st, 2022, just days ago, shooting at a Tulsa hospital in Oklahoma. I believe that the single greatest threat to our democracy are the growing divides in our society. I'm talking about the gaps between the haves and the have-nots, the wealthy and the poor, the rich and the rest, the young and the old, black, brown, and white, inner city and suburban, Democrats and Republicans, agnostics and believers, Fox News and MSNBC and CNN, and then the deepest growing divide in our society that's absolutely tearing our society apart. iPhone versus Android. It is tearing us apart, folks. One of my favorite TED Talks is by a Turkish storyteller named Elif Shafak. And in that TED Talk, she reminds us that we are all born into a certain social and cultural circle. We're all born into a certain family, a certain race, a certain ethnicity, a certain class, a certain nation, a certain society. But if we have no connection whatsoever with the world outside of the one that we take for granted, then we can suffer the equivalent of a social and cultural death. Our society is increasingly comprised of what she describes, and I would agree, communities of the like-minded. That we're increasingly surrounding ourselves with people who look like us, think like us, share our values, our political ideology, watch the same TV shows, and live in the same echo chamber of our social media. The irony is twofold. The danger of these communities, which are so natural for us to find ourselves in, is that we can often cast projections and stereotypes onto those who live outside of the communities of the like-minded to which we belong. The other irony is that as our country continues to diversify, all we find ourselves doing is driving deeper and deeper into our communities of the like-minded, which does two things. It exacerbates our greatest liability, our cultural ignorance, and it nullifies and undermines our greatest strength, our cultural diversity. In the absence of real dialogue, real interactions, real understanding that breaks down the walls that so often separate us, our inequities will persist because our ignorance will continue to exist. So the solution doesn't lie in blacks learning more about whites, or whites learning more about Latinos, or Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders learning more about Native Americans. The solution lies in all of us learning more about each other. Or in the words of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, together we must learn to live as brothers and sisters, or we will be forced to perish as fools. And so on that note, it is an honor and a privilege that John Wang invited me, to serve as your MC for today. I was here last year as a part of this event and was sufficiently impressed and motivated by what this forum is doing exactly in the spirit of what I've described, breaking down the walls that so often divide us, but rather looking for ways for solidarity that can unite us. My name is Randal Pinkett. I'm the founder, chairman, and CEO of BCT Partners. Our mission at BCT is to provide insights about diverse people that lead to equity. We're an equity-centered consulting firm. Equity is who we are. It's what we do. Now, this year's roundtable, like so many of the roundtables that have preceded it, builds upon the outcomes, the lessons learned, and the priorities expressed by you, the audience members, and topics from prior roundtables that generated the most interest. This year's theme, New Majority 2022, the opportunity for building allyship, picks up the next phase of the theme introduced in 2018 by organizer, the Asian American Business Development Center, AABDC. The emerging majority of minorities and its significant for businesses have been a central focus of these gatherings. Since they have been working on creating awareness and gathering and generating strategies for meaningful allyship among new majority communities. In the last 2 years, AABDC has been witnessing a new wave of growing support and interest in the new majority collaboration from organizations representing all three of the largest new majority communities. To capture the momentum, this year's theme is devoted to providing a safe and productive space for the conversations that we must be having in this moment on how to build and sustain allyship. For context, let me give you a brief history on how the roundtable came to be. I want to first do that by telling you about the Asian American Business Development Center, founded in 1994 by John Wang. Please give John Wang a round of applause. That's the man. John Wang is the man with the master plan. AABDC, that's the first time you've heard that, John. AABDC is a nonprofit organization that assists Asian American businesses in strengthening their capacity to compete in the mainstream market, to expand business opportunities, and to promote recognition for Asian American businesses and their contributions to our economy. Over the last 2 decades, AABDC's signature annual black tie event, known as the Outstanding 50 Asian American in Business Awards Gala Dinner, has honored more than 950 elite Asian American entrepreneurs and corporate executives from around the U.S. And by the way, the nominating process for the Outstanding 50 of this year, 2022, is now open. Please check the AABD website, found in the program and on your banners. The AABR, the Asian American Business Roundtable, began as an idea of creating a forum where highly successful and high-potential Asian American professionals could collaborate and generate ideas to provide counsel on business and leadership issues of broad social and economic interest. As the roundtable gained popularity, to its credit and to your credit, and to my opening remarks, it quickly diversified to represent not only the Asian business community, but a larger community of diverse businesses. This year, you'll hear from the business leaders from some of the biggest brands that you'll recognize: AT&T, Bank of New York Mellon, Hennessy, New York Life, PepsiCo, and leaders from the community representing the Black, Latino, and Latina AAPI communities, and many others. We have an exciting program ahead for you. Please work the social media: Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, whatever is your social media flavor of the month or flavor of the day. Share your information, share your learnings from today. Tag AABR, hashtag AABR. Take pictures, post them so that those who could not be here but wanted to can share in the experience, and those who chose not to come will wish that they did. The 7th Annual Asian American Business Roundtable is co-chaired by distinguished corporate leaders Ann Chow of AT&T Business CEO, who will speak later today, and Ramon Laguarta, Chairman and CEO of PepsiCo. Please give Ann and Ramon a round of applause for their leadership in chairing this event. To start us on our journey for the day, we have a video welcome from Ramon Laguarta. I'll give you a brief background on Mr. Laguarta, and then we will let the video commence. He's a native of Barcelona, a 25-year PepsiCo veteran, has served as CEO of PepsiCo since 2018 and chairman of the board since 2019. He also serves as a director of Visa Incorporated and the co-chair of the World Economic Forum's Board of Stewards and the Food Systems Initiative. I draw your attention to the video for a welcome message from Ramon Laguarta, PepsiCo CEO.
Good morning, everyone. I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak with all of you today and to serve as co-chair for this year's event. The theme of this year's annual Business Roundtable is Building Allyship. We know that business is very well positioned to play a very significant role in making allyship a priority by championing our diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and leveraging our considerable scale and networks. Allyship requires awareness, advocacy, accountability, and collective action to make the work impactful. Today, advancing this work has never been more critical to our success. At PepsiCo, embracing our rich legacy of diversity has helped make our company better and more competitive for decades. One crucial element of allyship has meant embedding diversity, equity, and inclusion into the fabric of all our businesses. This means a commitment to creating an environment of dignity and respect. One that is collaborative, equitable, and inclusive for all our people, our business partners, and all the communities that we serve. PepsiCo products are enjoyed by communities in more than 200 countries and territories worldwide. We have more than 300,000 employees worldwide, each with different backgrounds, causes, and communities that they support. Our global workforce is proof that we're stronger when we tap into our diversity and when we use it to understand better and meet our customer needs and the communities that we serve worldwide. Our global scale is what we know the key to genuinely impactful change is united community action, because strong businesses need very strong communities. This is a key driver behind our community-focused Stronger Together program, recognizing that we're stronger when we stand together to help lift minority communities that need us most. One recent example of this community program at work came last year as challenging businesses and social climates hit communities very, very hard. In particular, we recognize the devastating business and social impact on the Asian American community, fueled by pandemic-related setbacks and increased race-based attacks. As part of our Stronger Together program, we announced a commitment of more than $1 million in support of the Asian American business community, including working with partners like the Asian American Business Development Center to provide expert technical and marketing assistance to address the top challenges identified by Asian American business owners, and helping Asian-owned restaurants prepare for an impending hospitality boom while supporting the long-term revitalization of the Asian-owned restaurant industry. In addition to our support for the Asian American business community, PepsiCo remains committed to increasing advocacy and celebrating the many contributions of the AAPI community, including through support for the Asian American Foundation to continue building the infrastructure to improve AAPI advocacy, power, and representation. As we continue to face new challenges in an ever-changing operating environment, we know that allyship and advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion is not a destination, but it is a journey. In 2020, PepsiCo announced the next step in our journey for racial equality, focused on 3 pillars: people, business, and communities. This has meant increasing representation and dramatically rethinking our approach to talent, leveraging our scale and influence with strategic partners, and working to drive meaningful change by addressing systemic barriers to economic opportunity. And because we recognize that a critical part of our journey to be a more diverse, more equitable, and more inclusive means being more transparent about our actions, we've committed to publishing our Racial Equality Journey Progress Report twice a year. These efforts also positively impact our broader diversity efforts beyond our U.S. Black and Hispanic associates and communities. We look to be an actor in addressing other types of inequality going forward and continue to lift marginalized communities across the world. For our Asian American associates and communities, this means we will continue to provide support in multiple areas. To fight against prejudice and Asian hate, to support the growing buying power of Asian Americans, now reaching over $1 trillion, while addressing the wide economic disparity across the group. And finally, to support the development of Asian business leaders. As part of our efforts to help address inequalities for historically excluded people and underserved business and communities, we also recently created the Multicultural Business and Equity Development Organization. Led by one of our top executives, this new organization will operate across our North American beverages and convenient food businesses to scale our work more quickly in communities across the full North America, both inside and outside our company. This work includes providing new educational opportunities, building up small businesses, and creating rewarding job opportunities to support underserved industries and communities. Ultimately, we know that our significant global footprint makes allyship not just a responsibility, but also an opportunity. We celebrate the diversity that makes us resilient. We reinforce a culture of inclusion enriched with the diverse backgrounds and perspectives of the communities that we serve, and our associates, who are the driving force behind our ability to win in the marketplace. But we can only build a stronger, more inclusive society if we can encourage others to join us. We must raise our ambitions, commit to tackling the challenges, and lift the voices of all minority communities together as a united business community. This is how we will think bigger and drive real change. This is how we can demonstrate our commitment to building allyship. I know we're all here today because we recognize the importance of this moment. We know what it means to lead with inclusion and to create a space where no one must leave their identity at the door to achieve their full potential. I really hope that today's discussions serve as a greater inspiration for what is possible, to provide us clarity on the barriers that we must address, and to reignite our drive to go even further.